I don't know about you, but I spend so much time trying to find what to watch on Netflix. The last thing I want to do is spend extra time trying to type the word and fighting with things like little remote controls to try and choose things on a keyboard. So I got one of these little mini keyboards that I can use, and I've got two different models that we'll talk about in this video. Hello everybody, welcome to another great review with It Came From China, and in this video we're going to look at mini keyboards that you can buy from AliExpress or one of the other online stores from China. In particular, we're going to be looking at a model from a company called Vontar and another one here called the Viboton. So let's have a look at these and see whether they're worthwhile, and if so, maybe which one could be more appropriate for you. Now the Vontar one is the Vontar i8. And it basically just came in a bag, purely in a packet. But essentially what this is it's a combination of a keyboard and a mouse and things like arrow controls and so on. So particularly these are useful if you have something like an Android TV box, for example. The way they work is the little cover on the back comes off, and this is where you put in the batteries in one case. In this case I've got AAA batteries. The other one has a rechargeable battery, which we'll see in a little moment. And then in addition to that, there is magnetically stored inside there a tiny little USB plug that you'd put into either a laptop or in this particular case, what I wanted to use it for, an Android TV box. So you plug it into one of the USB ports and you go ahead and turn the actual device on. In that case, you can go ahead and start using it. So of course you put the cover back on. Now what's cool about these is they give you a full ABC alphabetical keyboard, what's called a QWERTY keyboard if you're familiar with that. So it gives you a full keyboard, all the actual keys, numbers, function keys in this case, enter, spacebar, all of those kind of things as well. And some of these also have additional little mini shortcut buttons like a www button, for example, to help you type things like that more quickly. So that's the keyboard part, and then up at the top here there is also kind of little mini touchpad like what you might have on a laptop, for example, that you can use to get a little mouse pointer on the actual device as well. So that really helps to kind of, if you do need to choose something and you can't do it with a kind of a standard remote control or a keyboard controller, things like that. And then there are also little directional keys as well. So if you're choosing something to watch in Netflix, for example, you push the up, down, and so on, and there's a central button too as well. There are also, by the way, when you're using the touchpad, you can either tap once, twice, or three times, and it's actually shown on the control to get things like a left or a right button. But this also has a little left and a right mouse button, and there are other sort of mouse buttons and so on along the top. So I find it really, really useful to use this either to control, as I said, an Android TV box, or potentially you've got a laptop plugged into the TV and that's how you're watching, for example. Doing something like this lets you sit on the couch, on the bed, whatever it is that you're watching, and be able to control that. So I've tested this one, it works quite nicely. There is a USB port, I'm not sure what that's for. I guess that's if you wanted to plug into the device and go ahead and use it. I'm always doing this remotely the other side of the room, so I'm always using the little USB clip and doing that remotely. So that's a quick scan of the Vontar i8, and as we said, this one takes AAA batteries. The other one we're looking at here is the Viboton i8 Plus. Now this one was called the i8 and this one is called the i8 Plus. I'm not sure if there's some correlation. They say they're different companies, but the keyboard layouts are basically identical. The functionality is identical. So I don't know exactly what i8 and i8 Plus are, but you know, you may want to go with a Plus because that always means something better. Anyway, let's have a look at this. Certainly the packaging was better. It comes with a nice sort of retail style packaging, which in addition to looking nicer and giving a sort of a nicer experience with opening the product, tends to protect the product a little bit as well. So when we go ahead and open things up, we'll see inside there's a little user manual. There's a absolutely standard USB cable as well, and then there's the actual device. Now there's a few things that make these different. Size-wise, they're pretty much the same, but the key sizes are a little different. This Vontar one, the keys are actually a touch bigger, and they're always going to be small in something like a mini keyboard, hence the word mini. But this one, they are a little bit bigger, whereas this one, the keys are a little bit smaller, and they're also quite flat. These ones have a little bit more of a raised edge, so this one's a little bit easier to use from that perspective. Functionality wise though, they're virtually identical in terms of the keyboard layout, the actual buttons and so on. This one has a www and a dot and a .com button as well, so a little bit faster if you're typing web addresses and so on. Other than that, basically the same. There is a little envelope button on these, I guess, if you wanted to load email, things like that. I don't really use it for that, so I can't say whether they're any good. Other than that, basically the same in terms of layout and structure. What makes this one different though is it has two little buttons at the top. These orange things are labeled with an L and an R. So presumably if you're going to play some kind of game on your Android TV box, for example, that might be useful. I haven't used it for that, so I can't say whether it's any good for doing that or not. But that might be worthwhile for you choosing this model over the other, but there's a little bit of additional budget potentially which one you're buying. Now, functionality wise, exactly the same. There's a little USB thing inside here as well. But in addition, this particular model comes with a lithium ion rechargeable battery. So this one will cost you a little more, and both of these come in both models, I think. And curiously enough, there is a layout inside here for the batteries in this model. But I noticed this recently, you can't actually put batteries in. So it's kind of one pre-cut model, but if you get the rechargeable version, it can only take a rechargeable battery, and if you get the non-rechargeable battery version, presumably it can only take normal standard batteries. Of course, you could buy rechargeable AAA batteries, something like that, but just be aware, this one's kind of self-contained, in which case also the USB port on here is where you plug it in to go ahead and recharge the device. Now, price-wise, I paid around $7 odd for the Vontar. Again, bearing in mind that is the AAA battery model, which is a little cheaper. And I paid $11.50 odd for the Viboton IA Plus. Again, bearing in mind that is the one with the rechargeable battery. So price-wise, they are about the same if you get the same kind of battery pack version on them. All of these do come with different keyboard options as well. So they'll all have a QWERTY English keyboard on as well. But if you wanted, for example, one with English and Russian, you can choose a Russian option, Spanish option, Hebrew option. And I think that's it. I think there were those four, possibly one more that I've forgotten. But overall functionality, these are absolutely great to use with something like an Android TV box. I highly recommend for the somewhere around sort of $8 to $10 price range. They're very convenient and going to save you quite a bit as well. So let's do a proper It Came From China review, and we'll start with the Vontar. In terms of price, I'm pretty happy for what I paid for what I got, and as I say, I kind of prefer the feel and quality of this one as well. If you don't need things like this extra button, but I would recommend this one over the other one. So quality wise, everything feels great. In terms of both products, to be fair, I just prefer the slightly larger buttons, and the slightly raised edge to the buttons makes them a little bit easier to push and manipulate. So that's price and quality. And in terms of overall packaging, well, I was disappointed that this didn't come with anything at all. It wasn't super well insulated other than basic bubble wrap, but I guess there ain't too much to this. It's really just a couple of keyboard buttons. It's probably unlikely to get seriously damaged. And it's not like it's a glass product or anything like that. So packaging, so-so, but probably good enough. So in terms of should you chuck it, should you check it, or should you go ahead and charge it, I would say absolutely go ahead and charge this one. I prefer this one over the other, and for roughly the same price point and so on, I prefer this one. Now, if we look at the Viboton, price-wise, again, roughly the same, so I'm going to give it the same rating. Quality-wise, again, feels pretty much the same. Both of these have a little bit of a grip on the edge. The grip on this one's a little bit easier, so it might slip a little less. And this does have the extra buttons and so on, if that's what you're looking for gaming and so on. But if you're not, I'd recommend that other one overall. Packaging though, this one definitely wins. So should you chuck it, should you check it, or should you charge it? Well, maybe this is a check it if you want the extra gaming buttons and so on. Otherwise, I'd charge this one and possibly check this one. If you've enjoyed this review, go ahead and show your support, subscribe to our channel, and go ahead and click the little alarm bell to get alerted when we publish a new review. Okay, thanks for watching.